I hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are okay. Hope you guys are safe. It's day 11. Yes, day 11. And I have a very special guest. I want to say in studio, but it's not in studio. He's obviously at his house. But he is a good friend. I met him, I think, a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years. And he's a very talented filmmaker, specifically DOP. And without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome him onto the show. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the one, the only Mr. Chad Meyer.
Hey, hey, what's happening? How's it going?
Cool, buddy. It's so good to have you on the show. I'm so happy that you were willing to come and be on the show. Just so you know, at certain points, I might cut you off because I want people to comment if they have any questions, if they like whatever questions, we'll feed off of them as well. If they comment something, I'll read it out, and so I might cut you off for that. And speaking of which, people, please comment. Please ask any questions you want to know about Chad. If you want him to maybe get you on some reality TV show, I don't know. Maybe Chad can make it happen.
Only for certain people, only for certain people.
Cool. So let's get right into it, and we'll wait and see if people start asking questions. Remember, people, you're welcome to ask at any point. So, chatty, Chad, man.
That's
I
it.
guess I'm gonna ask you the first question, which is what I always ask everyone that's on the show. How are you holding up? How has it been for you? Are you still okay? Are you still like, do you feel cabin fever yet? And what do you do to keep yourself sane?
Honestly, if it wasn't for my last job being canceled because of this, during the production, I would have thought I was just waiting for the next job. I'm a freelancer after all.
Hmm.
And that's kind of the nature of the game. Sometimes you have work, sometimes you don't. The only difference is it's a little weird having my neighbors next door when I'm at home because normally everyone else is out of the place and I'm sitting here just like finding things to do, working on projects, but keeping myself busy and entertained like any other day, really. Nothing, nothing's really different. The only difference is obviously the not being able to interact with other people
Yeah.
face to face. Like for me, I'm a bit, I suffer from FOMO. That's a real thing, fear of missing out. And that's why, like I can sit at home and work on things for a little bit. And then about an hour, 2 hours in, I get itchy feet and I just want to go hang out with friends. Dude, and I love my industry so much. Sometimes because we all work together, like I have a lot of friends in this industry, I end up going to sets just to hang out with people. Because at the end of the day, we're one big family and we're friends. And well, shit, I want to see what you're up to. I'm sitting at home. Why am I not on your set? I'm sure there's something for me to do.
That's actually interesting that you bring that up. So okay, so you go, you hang out I mean, it's kind of like the comedy industry where, we'll go, even if I'm not on the lineup, sometimes I'll go to a show and hang out with the guys. So I guess it's the same kind of concept. But here's something interesting. Would you be allowed to bring someone like me on set?
Uh, well, look, it all depends on the set, and it depends on the people. If it's an international, generally that's a no-go. I mean, even for myself, I wouldn't be able to do that on the international because there are people, yeah, there's too many regulations and so forth. I mean, I had a friend who worked on Avengers back in the day when they were shooting in Johannesburg,
Nice.
and uh, they weren't even allowed to take their phone out to SMS or answer someone because at the end of the day, if they leaked out any of that information, it's critical information to a storyline
Yes.
that people have been working on for so long, and to expose that would be terrible.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, if it was people I know and local production, I could bring you along, no problem.
Okay. So local.
I can make a plan.
All right, local. That's cool. I'd still come to a local.
Yeah, local is lekker, man. That's how it goes.
So Avengers, you probably were itching to be on that set though.
Yeah, yeah, I was jealous. It was like one of the first jobs he got,
Nice.
but that is the benefit of being with an agent. Obviously, a big international company won't go to someone like myself because I'm just a regular Joe Soap on that they don't know. So they will go to a supplier, that being a crew agency.
I see.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. So that's interesting. That's good to know. I wonder if there's anybody in the who's watching would be interested to know as well. Like, ooh, maybe I should become friends with Chad Mayer now, and get to be on all the local sets and stuff. Cool. Speaking of local,
Yeah.
I know that you there's not. Okay, so let me actually start from here. I'm pretty sure not a lot of people know what it is that you do. We've obviously been speaking about it, but explain what a DOP is, and is that what you were doing freelancing before this whole COVID-19 scenario,
Before the pandemic.
before the pandemic is?
Actually, look, I refer to myself as a filmmaker. I say this because a DOP is a role which I've done. I've done many DOP roles, but I don't know, someone like myself who respects the big DOPs out there, I would say I'm only a DOP once I've done at least two or three feature films behind my name,
Mm-hmm.
because DOP or cinematographer is generally referred to someone that runs the camera department, and not only the camera department, they run three departments actually. They run the camera department, they run the lighting department, and they run the grips department. Grips being anything below the camera. So
Okay.
if the camera is going onto a Steadicam, if the camera's going onto a jib, if it's going onto a techno crane, anything like that, that's grips. Those are the guys that have a lot of muscle, and they're also generally the safety officers on set. They make sure that safety is kept at all times as best they can, because we know sometimes things don't go the way that they're supposed to. Um, uh, but yeah, I mean, like I'm a DOP in the sense that I've shot and a lot of shows myself. I've done second unit DOP, which means that so if there's a first DOP, he sets the tone of a drama series, for example, or a movie. And when he can't shoot all the scenes because there's too much to do in a short amount of time for production, then there'll be a second unit operating. So they operate almost exactly the same as the first unit of the production, but they generally get on the big internationals. They get all the cool stuff. They do all the stunts and they do all the awesome stuff. I'll be honest,
All
and that's
right.
kind of like the things I enjoy because, to be honest, I'm mainly a camera operator. I mean, that's why I got into this industry, whether it was narrative or reality. I love operating. I'm a photographer at heart, and I love to compose and expose. That's how I create the terminology in terms of a cameraman, because that's your main priority. But it's also showing a bit of finesse and a bit of flair into your field of expertise and offering up things that maybe a director can't. The director generally focuses on the action and the acting and the scripting, whereas I, as the DOP, or as a second unit DOP, or as a key operator, would go to the director and offer up suggestions and say, this is your scene that you want to play out. You want to play it out in this area. Okay, that's cool, but let's film it from this angle, because from this angle we have more depth in the field. We have a better source of lighting from this direction, so on and so forth. So you offer up your technical advice in the scene that he wants to block, basically.
Cool. All right. Well, that's super interesting. I didn't know that you had that much to do. I thought you just told people use that camera, shoot that angle. That's what I thought it was. Well, so
No,
thanks for that.
no
Okay,
worries.
the reason why that's very interesting, and I'm a huge fan of things behind the scenes. I mean, I like to watch the on the Blu-ray and DVD, or even on YouTube if I can find it. All the behind the scenes, how it's made, the green screen, all that
Sure.
stuff that fascinates me.
Mm.
But moving away from movies, I want to go and talk about the comedy industry because you've actually been quite involved. And I'm going to show a clip, ladies and gentlemen. This is from Chad's Instagram profile. I'll leave a link in the description below. He posted this. I believe he posted this today. Correct?
I don't know. Is it the one of Trevor?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, then yeah, that was today.
So, ladies and gentlemen, you'll see here that is Chad's Instagram profile. It's playing now. There's Trevor Noah. This was done for the Nationwide. Trevor Noah's Nationwide. And Chad, you were DOP for this.
Yes, that is correct.
Yes.
Oh no, but if it's the one I posted today with the massive audience,
Yes.
then that's Trevor Noah. Trevor Noah's. There's a Gupta on my stup.
Oh, okay. Sorry, my bad.
No, it's all good. It's all good.
Well, so you were part of that as well.
Yes, I was. I was a producer, a co-producer on that, and I was also the DOP on that.
Cool. Yeah, you guys would have seen there a picture of Chad with Trevor Noah. How cool is that? So now I gotta ask, what's Trevor Noah like?
Everyone asks me this. No, but it's fine, like people ask me the same thing about my brother when they found out he was an actor at school. That's how it goes, I guess, It's always the talent before the people that do the work.
Yeah.
But no, Trevor's amazing. Trevor's a really awesome guy. He's a sharp mind. He's a busybody. He's an entrepreneur. He's a he's a mover and a shaker. Like I've been in New York. I know what New York's like. And Trevor is a New Yorkan by heart. Like Johannesburg is very similar to New York in a lot of ways. Hustle and bustle, city that never sleeps. But I tell you, from the time I did that show in 2017 to the time I did the Nationwide with Trevor in 2019, I mean, the guy just moves on another level. I mean, obviously he's had a lot of coaching on the Daily Show and that sort of thing, but because he's so involved, I guess I kind of feel the same. That's why I kind of relate to the guy in the sense that, like our job is not just to do our job. Our job is to think about other people's jobs as well. Because at the end of the day, you're only as strong as your team.
Yeah.
And you got to make sure people are like getting stuff done. And yeah, I mean, for the Nationwide, I mean, I told Trevor how the scheduling of the show was going to be done once, and he knew it backwards. I had to explain it about 10,000 times to some other people, and they'd been on this production journey with me for about a year. But but it's just, I guess it's also the interest. Trevor's got invested interest in anything he does.
Yeah.
He doesn't do anything half-assed or anything like that, and it's wholeheartedly the whole way. And that's why on my post that I'm doing lately of the productions that I've done, especially on that one, I couldn't be there without my team. I couldn't have done it without my team, and I highly respect the people that really put in the blood, sweat, and tears to make such amazing television with me.
Yeah. Okay, so you've done Gupta. Sorry, what is Gupta on my stoop? And
yeah, there's a Gupta on my stoop.
There's a Gupta on my stoop, and then you've worked with him also on the Nationwide, I believe.
So here's a compilation of videos.
There we go. All right, so those are the ones you've been on.
So I don't have awards. I have DVDs. so like that was back in the day. Payback the Funny.
Wow.
And then this was the show that I shot and produced.
Nice.
So we've been together for some time now, actually. Like it's through partnerships, it's through friendships, and it's through great collaborations with great like-minded people. And opportunity, like I said in that post, it's when preparation meets opportunity.
Yeah.
And there's the luck, like my friend who was the DOP on Trevor's shows. He actually was the one that DOP'd the documentary that led up to the Daywalker.
Okay.
And between my best friend Trevor and David Paul Meyer, who is one of the content directors on the Daily Show, those guys became like best of friends at the time. And after Daywalker 1 and 2 was done, Trevor wasn't so happy with certain things on the other productions, and he went back to David and to Brent and said, well, guys, we're all good filmmakers, and I trust you guys to do a good enough job. Can we do it? And they all said, let's go for it. And that was the beginning of a beautiful relationship. I was very lucky enough to always be a cameraman on those shows, apart from the years when I moved abroad for a little bit, for 2 years, and then came back here, carried on with the shows. Trevor moved to New York. We never thought we would see him again. My friend immigrated to England. Never thought I'd see him again. And through the past experiences, I carried on and started producing and doing other shows. Again, I kept these, because I was worried you were going to ask me what movies am I watching, but I couldn't take that out to hold and show you. So, done like Louisa Madinga.
Yes.
Skulk Bezuidenhout.
Nice.
That's one. That's two. There's another two I've done with him recently. Dylan Oliphant, amazing guy. And funny enough, most of these guys actually opened for Trevor back in the day, and there's old Tats. So there's a few more. But back to Trevor. And then Trevor said he wanted to come back and do another show in Africa. It was his biggest show we've ever done. And back to how great of a guy Trevor is, I mean, his one list of demand was that my best friend came from England to work on this production.
Wow.
At whatever expense. And, I was loving the idea.
Yeah.
I was just wondering who was going to pay for it. But in the end, we sorted it out because, it was just something, again, you got to pay your respect. You got to pay it forward.
Yes.
And that's what I wanted to do for my friend and for Trevor. And then we did Nation Wild, about a year back now, or just over a year ago. That was in conjunction with Trevor, through another production company, Black Sheep Films.
Yeah.
They were the brainchild of that show, and they had a good relationship with Trevor, and so Trevor Noah's Nation Wild was born, and it was pretty successful. It was on Mnet and Showmax.
Yeah. It was a good show. I watched it. A lot of great up and coming comedians that were on there as well. Some from Cape Town, Joburg, Durban. Nice, great mix. And some of those guys are doing really well in the industry right now. Well, before the whole COVID thing. Everything's kind of been put on hold now.
Sure.
But it's fascinating to know that you have known Trevor for so long. So would you say that you've known him since the beginning of his stardom, or did you know him when he was still doing the open mic nights? How long ago?
No, so as I mentioned, my best friend was the one who did Trevor's show. I was in Dubai at the time, and when my friend started that. That was when Trevor was warming up. Trevor was doing. I mean, he still did it when he moved to the States. Let's be honest. He's got that sort of work ethic gene built in him. It's in his makeup, and he was doing back-to-back shows all across the country, and I think that's why he was chosen for that documentary. Now that documentary was actually. A thesis that was done by David Paul Meyer, who was coming from, I think he was from UCLA at the time, and Trevor just happened to be one of the three or four comedians that he chose to do that documentary on. So again, it was preparation meets opportunity to create the luck, but what a beautiful friendship it developed. because I think again when Trevor moved to Daily Show, he paid it forward by saying to David, "Hey, brother, come along. I want
Mm.
you to be on this ride with me." And that's the kind of person he is, and I can respect that from the guy, you know.
Yeah.
Not to say that I know him as well as they do,
Mm.
you know, like I work with the guy and I guess, you know, like I'm in passing sort of thing and what have you, more than I am like, "Hey, buddy, what's up? I can't phone him," type of thing. But I'm pretty close with the director.
Yes.
He's been a great help in my career and in inspiration to really just make it happen. You know,
Yeah.
he's like me. We both passionate for what we do, and we keep trying our hardest.
Okay, so you've worked a lot with Trevor, and you mentioned a few comedians just now with all the DVDs and stuff. Who's your favorite stand-up comedian locally?
Locally, sure, it's hard, eh?
You're supposed to say me. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Uh, there's too many to choose from, Joe. Yes, you're putting me on the spot now. Look, I'll be honest and say I'll go with the people who do the style that I love, which
Hmm.
I'm a huge one-liner fan,
Okay.
huge one-liner fan. Dylan Oliphant
Yes.
is he's got to be like number one when it comes to that. He
Cool.
really, man, that guy's
Hey,
got me in stitches every time.
he's funny. He's really funny. Yes.
And you know, like you said, the talent that we had at Nationwide, Cry de Toy, that
Yes.
guy, you know, like
I know.
if you watch his show, you know, he's this burkie that walks out on stage and he just stands there and everyone like starts laughing for about a minute and a half. I mean, that's what comedians would love, you
Yeah.
know. And I'm like, do these people know this guy? Why are they laughing so hard? Like, he just looks like a typical Afrikaner, you know. Like, and then it's just, you know, with comedy, it's all about timing,
Yeah.
and he knows how to do that very well. But yeah, but I mean, we have a huge list, Joe. I mean,
I know.
I mean, and I don't mean like a huge list like we got too many, let's get rid of some. I mean, like we have a huge list of good people.
We do.
Like, I mean, that's why I wanted to invest in you, and that's why we were running our show idea because, you know, like I think you're hell of a funny. You're
Thank
very
you.
unique with your comedy, and and I like to, you know, like I said earlier, it's about partnership and
Yeah.
collaboration, and when people have the same sort of synergy,
Yes.
magic happens.
Exactly. No, we were, for those of you who don't know, I was planning to film my one-man show for TV this year on 8th of May. Unfortunately, due to the epidemic, or pandemic, sorry, that is happening, we had to postpone indefinitely. So we don't know when it's going to happen. But I had Chad Meyer, DOP, Black Sheep Production Company. Melt Seabrachen is the director, and we also had Knock Films who were going to film. Um, Fantastic team. Uh, Chad's become a really good friend of mine, as well as Nathan and Jock, who I've known for years. Nathan was the first guy to see me perform any stand-up comedy, like
Uh,
literally since I decided. So he's seen my growth 10 years ago, and he's been part of the journey. So it was really going to be fun. Great team, and I know what you mean because when you find that team, you see it a lot in the movie industry as well. Like, Christopher Nolan has his team that he wants to work with. He wants to work with, what's his name, Leonardo DiCaprio, as much as possible. Same with Quentin Tarantino. Same with James Cameron. All these big Steven Spielberg. They all have their little. I don't want to say click. It's not the right word because obviously, you, I would say actually the one director that is very clicky is Adam Sandler because he has
uh,
the same actors in almost every movie of his.
yes, that's for sure. That's
But
him and his friends. Yeah.
yeah, but still, that's just when you, like you said, when you find people that think like you, that are creative like you, that's when the magic happens, and you just want to be around that energy. So I completely understand that. And yeah, so I wanted to ask you as well, seeing as we're on this topic. I asked you now who's your favorite comedian. There was a reason for that. I wanted you to give me your best joke.
My best joke.
Yeah.
Okay, a jumper cable walks into a bar, and the barman says, "You're not going to start anything, are you?"
Okay. I must applaud you for that. You thought of that very quickly.
Wait, I got another
I've
one for
never
you.
heard
I
of
got
that one.
another one for you.
Okay, go ahead.
So a sandwich walks into a bar, and the barman says, "Sorry, we don't serve food in here."
Okay, I get it. Now I like the first one. I get it. I
Okay,
like the first one
okay.
more. The first one I've never heard the first one before.
Okay, I'll
Um,
stick to my day job. I'll stick to my day job.
no, I'm just curious because a lot of the times this happens with people who hang around comedians or in the comedy circles a lot, or even people who watch a lot of stand up, and clearly you do. Um, have you ever dabbled with the idea of becoming a stand up comedian?
No,
Okay.
honestly, never. I mean, yes, I had to drink about a bottle of whiskey before I had to come on this because I'm like my heart's busy racing. No, I'm joking. It's not that bad, but I mean, I couldn't stand up. I mean, public speaking was just not a thing of mine. I kind of choke under pressure when it comes to that. Yeah, but I'm learning how to work around that because obviously as a DOP and as a producer, you got to tell people what to do,
Yes.
and you can't let people walk all over you. And you got to know what you're talking about and show confidence in yourself.
Yes.
So I guess I'm getting there, but I don't think I'm getting there to stand up on a stage, one mic. I'd be more like the Joker, very sad on stage, people laughing at me. Yeah,
That's kind of sad. No, well,
yeah.
like a lot of people always ask the question, especially I get this a lot, and I'm sure a lot of my fellow comedians can agree. Where a lot of people ask us like, "How do you do it? Is it easy? What do you do?" When you, like all these like typical questions, and some people ask, "Oh, how do I get started? And is there any secrets?" And you know what? I always tell people this: if you want to become a stand-up comedian, go to an open mic night, try it.
Mm,
But here's the thing: the desire to want to do it has to be very strong because
sure.
stage fright is a very real thing. And you get this a lot too, like, oh, dude, you got to get my friend on one of your open mic nights. When we have a braai, he's cock funny, bro. He's cock funny. And it's like, there's a difference between being braai funny and then being stage funny. Because
Sure.
obviously when you're at a braai, like you're around your friends, people, you're comfortable, you know these
Yes.
people. Being in front of
Mm,
people you don't know, that's a whole nother ball game. So
sure.
I get it, man. If you don't have that desire, I totally respect that. But know that if you ever do want to try, you know who to contact.
No, for sure, for sure. I'll have to do one of your courses first. It starts with the small steps, baby
Exactly.
steps.
Yeah. Cool, man. So we're gonna step away a bit from comedy. I want to get to know a bit about you a little bit more. So I'm gonna ask you. Um, let's start off light. Let's start off with this one. I don't know if there's uh, anybody that's watching that maybe wants to do film or be involved in the film industry. So, what drew you to becoming? I mean, I know you said you like the whole photography and you like the vibe and you like producing a show and seeing its end results and all and being part of the process. I get that. But at what point did little Chad Mayer, when he was watching, maybe it was a series or a documentary or a show, what was that moment in your life where you were like, that's what I want to do?
Sure. It's a tough one. If I'm honest, I don't know if people would like dislike me for it, but the truth is, my dad knew someone at my university and said, "Why don't you go there? I could probably get a few bucks off your fees." He meant it with good intentions
Yes, yes.
because he knew because prior to going to film school, I came from the National School of the Arts, which was my high school, and my father knew how I thoroughly loved the arts. I was never an academic. I was never a sports kid. I've got no ball codes whatsoever. So do not throw anything at me. I will probably turn around. But yeah, so I was doing photography and illustrative design. Those were my two main focuses.
Okay.
And I'm not going to credit the people. Or I don't know. I feel a bit weird about crediting people or not crediting people. But anyway, my university, let's just say, came to do a presentation at my school at the time, just after my father had said this. I think it was maybe a month or 2 months before we had our final exams, and they showed us what people were doing at film school. And I got to say, I was pretty amazed at one or two third-year films. And I was like, shit, if these people can do stuff like that, it's all about learning how to do the process and then you get into it.
Yeah.
And I'm already kind of there because of my photography. So maybe it's not a bad thing to try. Then I went to Open Day. And I got to admit, I'm a kid from the 90s, so my eyes were glued to the television nonstop.
Yeah.
So for me to find a career where all I do is look at my little television and picture things the way that I would want to see it on television, if that makes sense. Like I hated watching things and going, oh, that looks terrible. They could have done it so much better. Now I'm in that position to kind of do that myself, or at least prove that I can do it myself. Obviously you don't start like that, but like I said, baby steps, and then you eventually get there once you build the time and the experience. It takes you 10 years of 10 years to get 10 years of experience.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
Yeah.
So you pretty much from when you were a lighty knew that you wanted to be in the film industry somehow. Like you were just a big fan of that.
I was just a huge fan of movies and series. I mean, you can ask me, have I seen this? I've probably seen it twice, if not thrice. Like, honestly, like I get annoying with some of my friends because they're like, have you seen this? And I'm like, yes. Have you seen this? Yes. Have you seen this? Yes. With the newer stuff, it's a little bit different because there's so much that gets there's so much content out there these days, and that's not even what's online. That's not even what you can stream. That's not even what's on the private channels. That's just what the masses get. And it's sometimes it's a bit overwhelming. And which is why I'm grateful that I did have my love and passion for it from the 90s, because damn, the movies from the 90s rocked. The series from the 90s rocked. Comic books from the 90s rocked. I mean, 90s was the era of like cool cats. I mean, really, I don't know. Yes, the 80s obviously. And the 80s did have like super cool movies like the Spielberg movies, the Jaws and the Goonies and the Gremlins. I freaking love Gremlins and things like that. But I mean, it developed into the 90s, and I just loved that. And I just wanted to be a part of that. And now watching the movies of today, I'm just like, God damn it. The production value to some of these things are insane.
Absolutely.
And the technology is there for just about anyone to learn about on your cell phone these days. So I don't know. I don't invest too much time in learning too many tricks of the trade. I try to focus on one or two aspects of what I want to do, and that's filmmaking in terms of like creating a production and putting it together and putting someone's vision into a product. And the same goes for what I film. When someone tells me you're the DOP or you're the one and only cameraman on this production and you're not called a DOP, but that's your same job, like they put a lot of trust in you to make this thing work. It's a director's vision in their mind, but it's what you capture on film or on digital format, whatever, to make that a reality.
Yes.
And represent it as best as possible.
Yes. I had a question for you, and then I got sidetracked. Oh, yes. You were talking about the 90s and how you were a fan of the 90s. Okay, cool.
Yes.
So you say you've watched everything and all that stuff. So let's go with your favorite film from the 90s.
The Matrix.
Oh,
no,
wow.
but that's 2000. That's 2000. So maybe... Was it 2000?
I think it was 2000. You're right.
But, okay, then before that was Gladiator. Gladiator is an ultimate movie. I mean,
I did not
uh,
expect you to say that one. I did not expect
yes.
you to say. I was expecting maybe Terminator, but I think that was 80s. What else? Oh, there's Ace Ventura.
Oh, Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, When Nature Calls. I'm a huge Jim Carrey fan.
Same here.
I'm a huge Jim Carrey fan.
There's what?
The Mask. I
The
mean, The
Mask.
Mask was.
There's what's that from? Like any Robin Williams movie in the 90s, I think I'm a fan of.
Yeah, Jumanji.
Jumanji.
Pat
Oh my
Pat
word, yes.
Adams.
Yeah, hey, here's a good one. Okay, have you seen the new Jumanji?
I have.
Okay, which one's better, original or new one, in your opinion?
Oh, it's so different, and that's what I like about it. It's like a remix of a song. I don't have a problem with people remixing things,
Yeah.
but if you don't make it your own,
Mm.
then like it's really, you've got a lot of people that know the original that are counting on you to do a much better job than the original.
Mm.
It's like, I don't know if you ever watched the X-Men animated series.
No, I didn't.
Oh
Maybe
my
when I was a
gosh.
kid, but
Oh my gosh, that set the tone for the X-Men, and every X-Men film has flopped because everyone from that era that watched that animation watches these movies and goes, "What are they doing? Why is Mystique running the X-Men? Is it because she's a Academy Award winning actress and maybe that's why?" Then you see why the politics and why the studios can influence
yeah,
filmmaking at the end of the day. It is a business, so you can't, people need to understand that, and the movie universe and the comic universe are completely different. So
yes,
again, you can't, it's like comparing apples with oranges, even though they are both fruit, they're different fruit.
yeah,
So you need to have that in mind. Otherwise, you're just always going to go into a movie and say, "Oh, watch the one back in the 80s or the 90s. Can't wait for the revamp." And then you watch the revamp and you're so bitterly disappointed. But back to Jumanji. Jumanji was actually pretty good. I mean, I love Dwayne Johnson. I think he's a
yeah.
superb actor and entertainer. And I think they did that movie justice. I never saw the sequel, I'll admit, but I get worried about sequels because then they're always trying a little bit too hard.
Yeah, yeah,
It did well the first one, so let's milk it again and see
yeah.
how the second one goes. But I believe it was well received.
I haven't seen the new one. I'm scared. I'm scared to see the new Jumanji because I love the old Jumanji. So I'm that kind of person. Like, it's gotta take a lot for me to go like I'll give it a shot. I didn't like the trailer. I saw the trailer with Jack Black and I like The Rock as an actor.
Sure,
I do. I've seen a lot of his movies, but
yeah,
something about that trailer was like I don't like where it's going. I didn't like that vision of it. Put it that way.
I got you.
It was I know that it wasn't because Robin Williams wasn't in there. I mean, uh, I watched Aladdin with the remake of
Oh, the
Aladdin,
remake, yes.
and I thought that was pretty good. I was pleasantly surprised with how good that movie turned out to be. I think it's because again, I walked in there with like I was expecting to be disappointed.
Oh, okay.
I was expecting to be disappointed, but then yeah, it was actually really good.
Sure.
Um, okay, so your favorite movie from the 90s, Gladiator. I can
Yeah.
understand. That is a really good movie. I remember when it was released, like everyone made a huge hoo-ha about it, and rightfully so. It was really well written, really well filmed.
Mm.
Uh, One of Russell Crowe's best performances, in my opinion. Pulp Fiction. When was that released? 70s, 80s.
Maybe late 80s, early 90s. Yeah,
Pulp.
that was good. I mean, I'm a huge fan of Tarantino.
Me too.
There's one or two that I won't say which I don't like. I just found them too character driven, and then it became so boring. It's like,
Kill Bill.
when is someone gonna kill 1,000 people like Kill Bill? Because I'm waiting for that, because I love Kill Bill.
Okay, so
I
you
mean,
like Kill Bill.
I'm
Okay.
I love Kill Bill. Like I'm a huge fan of Bruce Lee. So and
Yes.
any kung fu movie I'm there to watch. And I think he did a. I mean, those films were brilliant. I mean, they you know, oh, they They are true classics.
So which one didn't you like of Quentin Tarantino? Come on, just say.
The Hateful Eight.
Yeah,
The
that was
Hateful Eight.
boring.
I got so bored
That
and
was
lost
boring. I'm
and
not gonna lie.
disinterested. I
Yeah,
mean, Django came
that
just
was
before that. That was
brilliant.
brilliant. I
Yeah.
love that. I mean, I love the way you die, boy. I mean, that was so. That's when you can say words from a movie, then you know it's stuck with you. That sort of
Exactly.
thing. Inglorious Bastards was brilliant. This new Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I loved.
Don't tell me. Haven't watched it yet. I want to
No,
watch
no, I won't. I won't.
it. I want to watch that.
But again, like it's about because like Hateful Eight, yes, it had brilliant actors, but the story was very, I don't know.
Do you think that maybe because he had such great actors in it, that the bar was kind of set at a certain level, and
Yeah,
maybe we all went in with a higher? Because I've had this conversation with a lot of my friends who also were disappointed with the Hateful Eight. And I mean, what's his name? I think Adam Sandler also made a spoof on it. And it's. Do you think that because they had such great caliber of actors that maybe we were like, oh, these actors, the movie's going to be amazing because there's so many of these great actors.
maybe. I mean, I honestly, I don't fall for that nonsense. I love trailers. Trailers actually pull me in.
Yes,
I know some people hate watching trailers because they're
I
like,
love
oh, I've
watching
just watched
trailers.
half the movie before I know, I've even gone into the cinema. I'm like, dude, they're just giving you snippets of what's to come. There's still so much. I mean,
Yeah,
like some people, they said the same thing about Endgame with Avengers. They're like, oh, I've just seen half the movie. I know everything that happens. I'm like, dude, there's so much that happens in that movie. You have to watch it at least 2, 3 times to see every little bit of detail.
not just
But
that, like Avengers or Disney with Marvel or Marvel Studios, rather, I should say, they trick the audience. So a lot of footage that is in the trailer actually isn't in the movie. So
yes, as well, because things get cut, because at the end of the
yes,
day, you can't have a 5 hour theatrical movie because people are going to fall asleep. Although we did have Alexander the Great with Colin Farrell back in the day.
yeah,
Also a very good movie. I think it was just called Alexander, but I mean, that movie
oh
was
yes.
about 3.5 hours. I remember we even had an interval during the movie. I've never in my life had an interval during a movie, but but we did.
um, it's funny you mentioned interval because I used to live in Egypt, and in
Yes.
Egypt, it's I don't know if they still do it, but when I was there, uh, 10 years ago, um, when you go to the movie, they have an interval. No matter what
Uh,
movie you're going to, whether it's an hour, hour and a half, 2 hour, there's halfway through interval. Um, which was so I started going to the movies quite a lot in Egypt. So when I came here and there wasn't an interval, I was like, "Where's the break, man?" um,
why is that?
why is what?
Why did they have intervals?
Honestly, I'm not sure. I think it was just I think it was a way maybe for them to make a bit more money because obviously
Okay.
you buy popcorn and drinks before you go in. Then when
Okay.
there's a break, everyone goes and refills.
Okay.
So probably just a way for them to make more money or give people a bathroom break and all that stuff.
Okay.
Um,
That's
like
interesting.
like a theater show, really, because there's intervals in those. Um, yeah. Okay, so spoke about Quentin Tarantino. We're both fans. We spoke. You mentioned Matrix, so I'm guessing that's one of your favorite movies.
Yeah.
Are you excited for the fourth one?
I am. I
Okay.
am. Like the first one was revolutionary in so many
Yes,
ways,
it was.
in the filmmaking, in the thinking of just yeah, it definitely has so much deep connotations in this movie. It's like groundbreaking. The things that are there's so many hidden messages. There's so many concepts that they drew from the original animes and from the original Chinese cinemas. With the wire. What do they call it? Where the actors wear wires and they pull them up to
Yeah.
do the slow motion. There's the 360-degree camera shots.
Yes.
I mean, it was groundbreaking in so many ways, and I really like the idea of of being plugged into the machine in going into the matrix, but
Yeah.
that's only a part of that's a part of your mind. It's your
Yeah.
consciousness. It's your consciousness escaping. Like when I go to a movie in a cinema, I like to escape. It's my escapism.
Yes.
So the Matrix kind of feels like the same sort of thing, but now you can be injured in the Matrix and still be injured in the real world. And yeah, I thought it was. I loved it. I mean, even the Animatrix. I don't know if you ever saw that. It was
No,
like
no, no.
they did all the little shorts. It was like an anime made by like some of the best anime directors and artists that made all these little shorts that they made, and each short was actually related to the movie. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
even when they made the PlayStation game Enter the Matrix, you could play Ghost, or you could play Naomi Campbell. What's her name? Will Smith's wife, Jada Pinkett Smith.
Yes.
You could play either of them, and then you get more involved in the story
Yes.
because they just thought like that. It was not just a once-off product.
Yes.
For them to make a sequel made sense because there's so much more to this universe. It's like
Yeah.
Star Wars. You can have one story within the universe, but my gosh, there's a huge universe with so many possibilities and options.
Yes.
And that's what storytelling, like great storytelling, is about. Look at the Chronicles of Narnia, Prince Caspian, that sort of Lion, Witch, and the Wardrobe, that sort of realm, or you've got the Harry Potter realm, or you've got J.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings realm. It's all about creating a universe.
Yes.
That's why I think Disney realized jumping on board onto comics, where comics are renowned to be great as a single,
Yes.
even better when you have a guest appearance, and the best when you bring my superhero, your superhero, her superhero, all in one mashup, and it's like, my gosh, it's an orgasm of comic
I
heroes
knew
what's
you were
going
gonna
on.
use that word. I knew it. Because that's exactly what all us nerds did when we watched Endgame, and that moment when what's his name, Falcon, comes out and tells Captain, "On your left," and then all of them
Yes.
appear, and then finally Captain America says, "Avengers assemble." I mean, the cinema
Yeah.
went crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were so. That's one of the things that, like, a lot of people, I think people who don't really understand, because I feel like there's two different types of Marvel watchers. There's the hardcore fans, and what I
Mm.
mean by hardcore fans is um, they maybe read the comic books when they were younger, as they were growing up, and then watched the movies. And then you have what I call the new age fans, which are the ones that haven't really read the comics but love the movies.
Sure.
And I get into some debates with them because they're like, "Yeah, it's okay. Marvel's okay. Endgame was all right. It was the same old." And I'm like, "Do you even understand what just happened? Do you even get it? Like,
Yeah.
these guys, the studio, what's his name, Kevin Feige, did
Yes, the
something that is
producer.
never done before, which is bring so many different characters into one movie. And not just that, somehow with so many different characters, gave them enough screen time where we weren't like, oh, I wanted to see more of this person, oh, I wanted to see more of
Sure.
that person.
Mm.
We were like, I don't know about you, but those 3 hours went by like that for me. I was like, what? It's over? Huh?
Yeah.
Um, no, I love Endgame just because of that movie history making moment.
Sure.
And yeah, you can say it's popcorn movie, as some people say, but it's entertaining. You can't deny
Yeah,
that.
well, I was gonna say, even if I didn't like it, I'd still go watch it just because I like to be entertained. I like action. I
Exactly.
mean, I went to go watch Birds of Prey just to see what it's like. I knew I was going to be disappointed, but I wanted to see what it was like, and I did it. I knew not to expect any Batman or any Joker,
Yeah.
but you got to support these guys. They
Yeah.
put a lot of time and effort into making these movies, and look, if you don't support it, like I said, there's so much material out there. I
Exactly.
mean, those people that don't like Avengers probably like Tiger King and things like that. But I mean,
Hey, Tiger King wasn't bad. Wasn't
no,
bad.
it wasn't bad. I'm just glad that that guy got a long prison sentence, and yeah, all those other like They remind me of. Do you remember Joe Dirt with David
Yes.
Spade? It's like those real redneck hillbillies. Just these guys have money, and these guys now all want to pet cats. And then, like, I mean, there's the one guy who says, "Yeah, no, I got into cats. I mean, into exotic animals because my dad was a drug dealer, and I inherited one mountain lion." And then the next thing I knew I had six lions that I inherited after they ate their last owner. I mean, I just love animals. I'm like, what? What? That doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
yet somehow it became one hell of a series on Netflix.
Yeah, no, sure. You
I
know, money
mean,
doesn't buy you class, that's for sure. Or teeth. Well, maybe it could get you teeth, but that one guy just refused to get more teeth. I don't know.
my
He
wife,
likes,
my wife was saying the same thing every time they showed him. I know exactly it's his husband, or I don't know, the
yeah, it's
one,
his ex-husband,
yeah,
his first
ex-husband,
ex.
with all the tattoos. And she was like, you know what? He's not bad looking if he doesn't open his mouth. And then she was like, "He they make so much money. Why can't they just go to a dentist, get dentures, do something?"
Yeah, it's what they call in Cape Town the passion gap.
Yes. Well, he had half a passion gap, kind of, because it was like missing like here, but then here, and it was weird, man. Very again, very
But
entertaining.
entertaining, yeah, no,
Yes.
100%. You know,
Um,
that's what television's got to do. It's got to entertain you. It's got to engage, you know, one way or another. Whether you watch it because you want these scumbags to go to jail,
yeah.
or you watch it because you like the drama and you just want to see how it unfolds, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm gonna play that game with you now. Have you seen Don't F with Cats?
Yes.
What did you think of that one?
It was pretty good. Yeah, yes, another sick, twisted individual, and I'm so glad that they caught him. But you know, like after watching something like that, it just makes me think, you know, if people can work so hard to finding one guy, can't they work a little harder to finding the coronavirus cure or something like that? No, I'm joking. I know that that comes with a PhD and that sort of thing. But I mean, like really, like when it comes to investigative work, I
Yeah.
mean, people can really help. But at
Yes.
the same time, they can. I mean, look at that one guy who committed suicide because he was depressed and everyone was
Yes.
attacking him.
Yes.
And he thought, you know, all he did was he thought he would yank some chains and say, "Yeah, I'm the cat killer." I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's really stupid to begin with. But you know, so I guess yeah, let me retract that and say let police do their work.
Well, look, it was also difficult. I mean, what was nice about that documentary is we got to hear from the police. I mean, there were so many different departments: Interpol, French. Was it the French? No, the Canadian police. Eventually, the American police, and everyone has their jurisdictions and their red tape. And by law, we can't do this. By law, but there's not enough evidence for that. There's not enough evidence for this. We need something more concrete. And those
Sure.
rules are there for a reason. And there are some documentaries on Netflix that say these rules are kind of stupid. Um, but I mean, for that, what was fascinating for me with that documentary were two things. One, the dedication that those people on social media had, the fact that they investigated the way they did. They even mentioned that it changed the way some of the cops investigate now.
Sure.
They use some of those techniques that they were using. And the second thing that was fascinating for me was like, you know this, and we're getting to know this about each other. We love the film industry, like, we're
Mm,
fans, right? But I have
sure.
never been so crazy about a film industry or about a movie that I wanted to literally relive it. That
Mm,
for me, at the ending with that whole story of what he was actually doing, just I was like, how did you get like
yeah. I
wow?
know it's mind-boggling. Yeah.
And he pulled it off. Like that's the
Yeah.
crazy. I mean, he got caught, yes, but he pulled off when he wanted to, and
Yeah.
he almost got away with it. Um,
Yeah. It's
but
true.
yeah, that was for me that was insane because I love movies, and yes, maybe one day I'll be an actor or something, but I'm not gonna do what that guy did. That was
No.
next level.
Yeah,
Um,
don't do it that way.
cool. Is there anything that you're watching now?
Uh, I'm watching Ozark. I mean,
Oh
Jason
yes,
Bateman, yes, that guy is an incredible actor. I mean, I've
yes,
followed him since Arrested Development, which
yes,
is one of the best written shows in comedy. I mean, superb. You could watch that a million times
yes.
over, and you find new jokes in every single line, just about little innuendos and that sort of thing. Um, yeah, so I'm watching Ozark right now. I just finished Tiger King, but yeah, nothing else at the moment. Oh, The Last Kingdom. I finished that because I love shows on history and that depict history.
Hmm.
So yeah, things like that, Marco Polo, those are great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you watched that series on Netflix? I think it's The Ottoman Empire.
No, I want to see that.
All right,
I
cool.
want to see that, but I
I've
will get to it because I love history. I mean,
Yeah, me too.
I've just finished reading the second book of Yuval Noah's *Sapiens* is the first book, and then *Homo Deus* is the second book. The first one is incredible, like history, like people that just want to know. People should check themselves before they wreck themselves in this day and age when you want to call this person a this and call that person a that. You know, when you read a book like that and it teaches you about history and teaches you at the end of the day, we are we are unique because we are different.
Mm,
But at the same time, we are still human. And
yes,
that's what people need to understand. You know, we all share the same problems.
yes,
For once, not just in South African history, but in a world history, we are all sitting at home in isolation, and we all have the same story to tell.
yeah,
We are, for once, we are all back to being human.
yeah. We've been leveled.
We've been leveled. Thank
Yeah,
you very much. That's what it boils down to, and
yeah.
that's a very important thing for people to understand that.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah. It's you will get those that say, "Yeah, but easy for you guys to say when you're sitting at home with a roof over your head." Blah blah
I hear.
blah. And that's look that's a different can of worms altogether. And
Sure.
to your point, the point you're trying to make is we're all human
Mm,
and we're all affected, whether we're in a house or whether we're on the streets or whether we're in a mansion or whether we're in the hospital. We've all been affected by this
sure.
in some way because
Exactly.
we are all human and been
Yeah.
leveled in one way. Yes, maybe some people are more fortunate than others, but
Sure.
we've all been hit by this. So it kind of annoys me when people want to take the high ground and be like, "Yeah, easy for you to say, blah blah blah." I never said it was easy for me to say.
Exactly.
I'm just being. It is what it is. You know, that's the
Sure.
reality. You know, and I will happily help. You know, whoever needs help. If someone comes to me and says, "Oh, donate a blanket for so and so," I'll happily donate a blanket. That's not a problem.
Sure.
Um, but anyway, I just wanted to protect myself because I know people on social media can be quite mean. So just check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Sure.
um, yeah. So okay, cool. Yo, we spoke a lot about the film industry, man, which
Well,
is
that's good.
cool.
That's why I'm here, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah. No, I love it. I really do love it. I love talking about film. You Nathan and I. That's pretty much all we ever talk about is the film industry. I love talking about favorite movies and debating and like, oh, but why don't you like this one? And you gotta like this one. Okay, cool. So I wanted to ask you because every time you start speaking, I look behind you and I'm reminded by that awesome, uh, what is it, a mural, a collage, I would guess you would
My
call it.
Yeah, my collage. Let me give you a bit of view. My
Yeah,
light's shining there, so you can't see it. But basically, it's live, Live,
yeah.
like live television and so forth, but also live
Mm-hmm.
because I lived through all these events. A lot of them, well, it started with some of the clubs and, well, not clubs, but like big events that I went to that were like huge impacts in my life. I started collecting these sort of memorabilias. And then when I got into the film and TV industry, especially for television, you work at a lot of events. I mean, from the Trevor stuff, there's Trevor, and Idols, and so forth. And then you just keep these little memorandums. And I had a huge pile of dog tags, basically, like weighing my door down. So I got rid of all the lanyards, and then I made this collage, and I made a
Cool.
piece of art out of it.
No, it looks freaking awesome, man. Okay, well,
Thanks.
which one out of that collage favorite event?
Um, sure. Well, I can be honest and say two off the bat. This one here, City of Life. City of Life was my very first feature film that I did in 2009 in Dubai.
Okay.
That was an incredible experience. And then above it is, I don't know if you can, no, you can't see that, but the light's also shining there. Sorry. But it's basically my master class. I did a master class at the American Society of Cinematographers
Wow.
about 2 years ago. And this one over here, which is called Sharpshooter, it's called Sharpshooter South Africa. It was a reality TV show that's when I was in isolation from work, back in the day when I didn't have much work, I ended up being a contestant on a reality TV show, and
No way.
and it was about photography, shooting it out between amateurs and professionals and so forth. And yeah, that was pretty cool. I loved that. That was one of the best experiences of my life.
Do
It's
you
so
have a
much
clip?
fun. Uh, I do have. I'll have to find it and share it. I think it's yeah. I'll find it and share it with you. I think I have me when I was being taken out on my last event. I was like the six person to leave out of 10,
Hmm.
and when I left, you could see there was a bit of. Well, let's just say that was the first time when we realized it was a game and no one was like being friendly anymore because
Mm.
I mean, it was a bit of an unfair one. People were very sad to see me go. I was completely shocked. It was one of the best photos I've ever taken. I think I personally feel, and but it was cool. I was like 21 at the time or so. It was fun.
Wow, I didn't know. Okay, cool, man. All right. That's yeah. That collage at the back is really really awesome. Is there anything on there that you feel maybe you want to relive?
Uh, I wish I actually had it. It's not on here, but the Michael Jackson History Tour.
Oh wow.
Um, I was too small to think of keeping these little
Okay.
memorabilias. But I remember that concert like it was yesterday. I mean, I remember Michael Jackson coming out from under the ground in this like white igloo with the smoke, and then it opens up, and then he steps outside and he's got this werewolf mask, and then they start doing Thriller, and that was
Nice.
like, man, that was so cool. That was like, oh, that was
Wow.
so cool.
Um, okay. Next question. Very quickly.
Yeah.
I asked you your best filming experience or DOP experience. Now I want you to give me the opposite of that. Do you have any like? It can be something as small as like you were doing something, whether you were a DOP or just happened to be on the film set or whatever the case, and crisis happened or disaster or for whatever reason you just feel that moment you could have done it better, maybe you want to change things about it, anything at all.
Um, sure. Nothing that really stands out like that. One thing that I can think of, because like I said in the beginning, like you're only as strong as your team,
Yeah.
and people, and you need to respect one another and the decisions you make. I got to shoot a drama series with my friend who was the director, and we hadn't been paid for about a month. The first unit hadn't been paid for about a month and a half. And I said to him, well, listen, dude, the only stance we can make is a stance together. So I'm telling you that I recommend that we tell the producer when they say this is the last day, come to work, etc. We say we are not coming to work unless we get paid.
Mm.
Not just we, as in the one and two of us, like everyone.
Yeah.
It's everyone that hasn't been paid. It's not just the big guys or the small guys. It's everyone.
Mm.
And And what had happened is the producer phoned me behind my director's back to say, "Hey, Chad, just to let you know, so and so's not available that day. So I'm going to be directing." And I was like, "I just spoke to the guy like an hour ago. He never said anything. What are you talking about?" I didn't say that to her, but I was just like, "Okay, all right. Yeah, I guess if that's the case, it is what it is. But by chance, have you made payment yet?" "No, no, no. But don't worry, the payments will be made." And
Nice.
I just said, "I'm sorry." I said, like I don't work for free. I love this industry. I'll give it my all, but as long as I'm paid fairly and treated fairly, and we just felt that we weren't. And unfortunately, this has become a bit of a trend in
Yeah.
the film industry. I don't know if it's because there's too many mouths to feed and too many people coming out of all these universities and courses and what have you. The industry is not as big as people think it is. It's not as glamorous as people think it is. You do it because you love it. Just
Yeah.
like you said, you get on stage because you've got the desire to do it.
Yeah.
You can't just say, "Oh, I want to be a presenter. I want to be the next face of MTV or so on, and I'm going to be that person." No, it doesn't work like that. You got to work hard to get to where you are.
Mhm.
And if you do work that hard, you need to be duly paid for it.
Yeah.
Like in any job, people can't come to you and say, "Sorry, budget's being cut." I mean, you can't start building a house if you don't have the money to pay for the supplies. You can't just keep bringing people to work every day to hang around and wait for bricks to be delivered. And then at the end of the day, say, "Sorry, guys, well, bricks weren't delivered today. You spent the whole day here. So therefore, you're not going to get paid." That's the deal I made with the supplier of the bricks.
Mm.
Where do these people get this from? And
Mm.
that's what got me into wanting to produce, because I'm a crew member first and a producer second, because that's what I fell into.
Mhm.
And I don't want to see my crew in those sort of positions, so I will always support crew before the producers and the production companies and so forth.
Yeah.
I'm not saying all of them. I'm just saying there's a select few, but that select few is getting a little bit bigger because there's more people, like I said, just jumping in and out of film school and saying, "I'm a production company. I can do it." Someone says, "Cool, it was going to cost 1,000 rand. Now you said it's going to be 100 rand. That's great." Then they pay you 10 rand to do the job. I mean, at the end of the day, when it comes to something like this, isolation, which, like I said, as a filmmaker, we do on a regular basis. I've already done it through December and January. What am I supposed to live off of now? I don't have
Yeah.
a union that has my back to give me funds. I don't have all these extra cash flows. I work today and I get paid in 30 days time.
Yeah.
And if my 30 days become 20 months or 2 years, no, that's we're all gonna be like really regretting being in this industry, and that's not why we're here. We're here because we have a passion for it, and we want the most out of making good television for people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, unfortunately, that's the same issues you have there is the same with comedians and most actors and even, well, I guess anyone that does freelance as well.
Yes, freelance.
Because, I can tell you many stories of like I've done MC work, I was hired to do 30 minutes at some event and they say at the beginning, "Oh, we'll pay you when you arrive." Then when we arrive, they're like, "Oh, I'll pay you when you're done with your set." And then you do the set, and then they're like, "Yeah, look, turns out we don't have budget." It's like you should have told me that before, like when you were discussing the booking.
Exactly.
And it's funny because it feels like a lot of people actually don't know the kind of stuff that filmmakers such as yourself, artists such as us, musicians, magicians, and other freelance workers, they don't seem to realize because when someone books me, I ask for like either 50% deposit or full deposit. And a lot of people are like, "Yeah, but why?" And I don't know. That's not cool. You can't do that. And it's like I'm protecting myself because
Exactly.
at the end of the day, I've been shafted a few times. I don't know who you are. Obviously, if it's a regular client, I'm a bit more lenient. But
Sure.
yeah, we have to protect ourselves, and people need to understand that this is our livelihood. When you don't pay us, you are literally taking food off of our table.
Yes.
And when you don't come, when you don't book, when you don't pay for your ticket to a show, when you
Mm.
don't, uh, pay you for your services, if you film for a commercial or a client or whatever, and they don't pay you, the longer they don't pay, the more you can't provide for your family or provide for yourself. And people need to realize that. I'm glad you brought it up. And I hope that maybe some people watching this will think, not think twice, but will realize like, yo, okay, yeah, this, it's a tough one for us, and
Sure.
especially now with the pandemic that's happening, like you said. I mean, all the like, what we were planning just like came to a grinding halt.
Exactly.
I mean, you were telling me a few weeks ago how all your plans for the future has been on hold. How future projects now you don't know when they're going to happen, and it's the same with me, man. Like with the events that I run, I don't know when they're going to happen. I don't even know if it is going to happen because my clients may not have venues by the time this is done, which is actually really scary.
It
Um,
is.
and I know right now we're in a crisis. The world is in a crisis. So obviously, everyone wants to make money. Everyone needs to make money. But I guess what you and I are trying to say as well is when we do get out of this, number one, don't use the pandemic as an excuse not to pay someone,
Sure.
anyone, your domestic, your the people who print stuff for you, the whoever it is that you hire or use as a service. Just don't use the pandemic as a reason not to pay someone, because at the end of the day, we all are in the same boat, like we mentioned earlier, and we all need to live.
Sure.
Um, so yeah, sorry, I went on a bit of a rant there.
No, no, no. I agree with you completely. I mean, I mean, I can't see if there's any messages that have come through, but
No, there
I would like to just interject and say if there's two pieces of advice I could throw out there to anyone who's thinking to get in the film industry, who's been in the film industry, or who's just starting out in the film industry. Number one, do not jump the gun.
mm,
Be humble.
yeah,
Be the person that wants to learn from other people
mm,
because you don't know jack shit. Let's be honest. I mean, film school is great, but the real world is the real world. It's completely different. You might have learned one or two cool things and you can do one or two cool things, but there's nothing wrong with starting out at the very bottom. Like there's no point in you saying, "Yeah, I'm the top of I'm the cream of the top," but I'm earning less than the guy who cleans the toilets.
mm,
I mean, rather earn that salary, but also learn underneath people that can teach you a lot.
yes,
You will, to know the road ahead. I mean, to know the road ahead, you got to ask the people coming back. That's one of my favorite sayings in all time. It rings bells in anything in life.
absolutely,
And then number two is have an alternative job, an alternative income supply. Whether you are, like one of the first jobs I did as a youngster on a feature film, the unit manager, which people might think, oh, unit manager is just a guy who like is there first and ends last, what a cuck job, and this, that, the next. Those people, like, really, they work their ass off, excuse my French, like to really make sure everything runs smoothly for the whole production, and people like discredit that completely, but that's another story. But that guy told me, like, yes, I don't earn a great salary on this. I could, there's other positions that earn much higher than me, but I really love doing what I do.
mm,
I'm not here to chase money. We're not in the film industry to chase money. But what I do on the side is I rent toilets, portaloos, because it's not just my production company that needs it or your production company. There's loads. So when
mm,
I'm on this job, my toilet's somewhere else. I have generators. When I'm on this job, I bring my generator with me. It's just like a cameraman who can afford his own gear,
mm.
a lighting technician who can afford his own lights, a grip that can afford his own tripods and stuff. Yes, I mean, yeah. So, and it doesn't, I mean, that's how you try to keep it within your industry. But I mean, you could still do something else. Your wife might be a chef or a baker. and you invest into her business.
Yeah.
Invest into two things. This is my third piece of advice. Well, I'm just thinking out loud. Invest in yourself, number one.
Yeah.
And number two, invest in good ideas.
Yeah.
Because even if you lose money, even if you lose friendships and you lose things, failure is a part of success. And
Yep.
if you don't go through that experience, you're just never going to grow. And you're always going to think you're number one. You're going to be like that 5-year-old child that knows everything, you know, and no one wants to be around that child. They're like little drunk people, you know.
Absolutely. And you know what, Chad? On that note, we're going to end it there. I've kept you a bit over time. I'm so sorry, but we got a bit
No problem, man.
passionate as we do because we're both passionate about both the industries that we are in, and there are a lot of similarities uh, with our industries and stuff like that as we touched on. But I would love to have you back on the show. You were great.
Thanks, man.
You shouldn't be shy. You were perfect. And you gave some interesting insight into the film industry as well as some behind the scenes stuff when it comes to filming comedy. And I would like to dwell or delve a bit more into that maybe next time we have you on the show. We'll talk maybe about more about the other comedians that you filmed, which would be super interesting.
Cool.
Um,
No worries.
and thank you so much for coming on the show. Please stay on the line. I'm gonna sign off, and then I'll be chatting with you for a little bit after we're done here. So,
Sounds
ladies
good.
and gentlemen, Chad, you can say bye to everyone.
Cheers,
Cheers.
everybody.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Chad Meyer, DOP, filmmaker, been in the industry for quite a while. He's filmed a lot of stand up comedians in the industry, guys like Scott Bezenhout, Tuts, Dylan Oliphant, Trevor Noah, and the list goes on and on and on. He showed some DVDs earlier. If you want to rewind, you can check that out. Those of you that have been watching, there have been people watching, so I would like to say thank you. Thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Please, if you're on Facebook, then you already have seen me on Facebook, so that's fine. You're watching on Facebook. But please consider following me on Twitter. Consider following me on Instagram, Instagrizzles. Yeah, I got some cool stories that I share. I'm also on TikTok. For those of you that are on TikTok, don't judge. Just don't. I got cool content. Go check it out. Just don't judge, okay? And then there's, please like this video. Tell everyone you know about this. I do this show pretty much every night during the lockdown. I have Yassine Barnes on the show tomorrow night, so please tune in, same time, same place, 8 p.m. And also, please, guys, don't forget to subscribe and hit that bell notification so that you know when we're live. But like I said, if you go to my channel, The Joe Show or Joe Emilio, you'll find all the details there. I also have other videos, stand-up comedy, skits. I do a lot of things. Ask Chad, he knows. Um, all right, guys. Uh, Having said that, once again, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and I'll see you tomorrow night or at the next one. Good night.